Last year, when I met Jack here in Osara, we decided or committed to ourselves to engage in how to support Costa Ricans. And as you already know, Jack is the CEO and chairman of Block. And I asked him, Jack, why did you choose Costa Rica to live? What brought you in here? And I will ask you now again in front of our diverse audience. We have people from over 30 countries, 130 activists, philanthropists, Grammy Award winners, intellectuals from all around the world that are also drawn to Costa Rica. But what brought you here, man?
The people. That's the simplest answer. The warmth and the pura vida. Like everything about it was so inviting. The first time I came to the country, I got out and I went into a taxi, and the taxi driver asked me, "Have you ever been to Costa Rica?" I said, "This is my first time." He said, "Well, we don't own Costa Rica, we share it." And I just thought that was such a beautiful intent for what this country is and what it means.
Absolutely. Some of you have asked me, what does pura vida means? Pura vida means a lot of stuff, especially from the people. I was talking with our friends from Africa yesterday. What does pura vida mean? It's pure life, right? It can be thank you, it can be you're welcome, it can be I feel okay, it can be let's proceed, it can be let's move forward. And please ask our Costa Rican friends, Ramon and Roberto and all the speakers, what does pura vida means to them. But as Jack said, Costa Rica has been very special because we have a very diverse human capital. Our social contract that was created in the 40s with words that became into processes that became institutions, lead to an education platform that actually built a lot of the results that we have today, like a technological cluster for indirect investment. But right now it's under jeopardy, not only because of the narco cartels snatching our kids, but it's also because it's heavily concentrated in urban areas, not in rural areas. So gratitude together is an action. Last year when I was with Jack, I said, Jack, well, let's do something. And he said, dude, let's absolutely do it. We shake hands. And I'm very happy to announce, some of you already know that Jack joined our board at the Reynolds Foundation, Tim and Caroline. And my commitment to all of you and to Jack right now, speaking about commitments and actions, are three. In short term, we're going to open these Tech and Freedom Academies in Nosara in the next 6 months, in Coano in the next 12 months, and in the rest of other points in the country in the next 24 months. And we're going to graduate 5,000 kids that will be employable after graduation. That's commitment number one, short term. Commitment number two, medium term. Jack and I will focus heavily on Coano. Coano is extremely corrupted, as you already know. And we have a lot of narco cartels going on there. But we're going to make sure that a lot of those kids have a bridge to hopefully be the first Costa Rican coders at companies that Jack and Miles and some of our partners run. So we will have coders or interns at these companies to create that bridge and that transparency. Then we talk about it with Jack. A long-term commitment with Jack, with Obi, with Tina, with Sumitra, and with the Reynolds family, we will make the Reynolds Foundation in the next 10 years the most disruptive philanthropic foundation in the world to fuck with dictators.
Wow. So cool with God.
With that said, now that we have the commitments, and Jack was drawn here to people, let's talk a little bit about people. Jack, you have been tremendously, as a great leader, putting together teams in different organizations, in different streams, creating new technologies. What do you look into people? What do you look into your leaders when you create those groups and those teams?
I don't know. It's no different from any other endeavor. Like I look for curiosity. I look for people who, per the previous conversation, found their purpose, understand or on the way to understanding why they're here and what they want to contribute and what they want to learn, what they want to take away. But the mindset of being able to learn and being curious and waking up every day with a question why and never being satisfied with the answer, I think translates to business, to nonprofit, to activism, to questioning the state, questioning I think the more dangerous thing right now, the corporation, than their relationship with the state, and coming at solutions which are more open and more truly for the people because they're made by the people.
That's fascinating. I was reading and preparing for this chat, and I actually asked some of our friends, what would you like to ask Jack? And I have a collaborative approach to source information to do things. And one of the questions that came from our audience was, in terms of that you work on decentralized and open source money and social media, what is open source AI so important right now?
Well, just to back up, what does open source mean? Open source is an ability for people to program and really donate their work and donate their efforts so that everyone can use it and everyone can see it. Every single person here, if you all take out your phone or your computer, you're all running open source. You're all running code that was written by people who did it for free just because they wanted to contribute to the world. And the corporations that are on the logo on the front of your phone or the back of your phone and all these apps, they very rarely give back to open source and very rarely give back to this massive contribution. But the most important thing about open source is that everyone can participate, everyone can see, everyone can shift the direction in the way they wish. And if we're giving up more and more of our information and our answers to AI, you're already doing it with Google. Google can predict your personal preferences probably better than you can right now, just based on what you ask it. And when you take it to AI, it's even more important. And do you want to live in a world where 4 or 5 US companies own that and can do whatever they want with it and can steer you in particular directions without you being aware of it? Or do you want to live in a world where that entire infrastructure is open to everyone? Everyone who wants to learn about it can go deep and understand it. They can shift it in whatever way they wish. And it has all these checkpoints on it. So I think it's important as we give up more and more of our own instincts, our own direction, we're literally offloading it to artificial intelligence. We're literally offloading it to all these technologies. And we're being completely ignorant of the answers coming back. And we have no idea what constitutes these answers. So I think it's really important that we at least strive to build an open system that is not owned by a company, is not owned by a government, and that can truly be built upon by the people. And yes, there's a high bar to get into it because you have to understand how to program, but that's becoming easier and easier and easier as time goes on. So more and more people can participate. Your kids, their kids are certainly going to have a much higher probability of being able to change this future than not. But it has a risk right now of being locked away in corporations or locked away in a government or even worse, defense contractors.
That's a really interesting point, Jack, and I will come back to the open source AI, open source technologies in a second. But some of our guests were interested in your early inspirations and early challenges. For instance, can you share a little bit about your interest of technology and what inspired you to co-found Twitter at that moment?
I was only interested in technology because it allowed me to build something very quickly. I could sit down in front of a computer, I could think of something, I could type it out, I could play with it and see the results almost instantaneously. But more importantly, I could show that to someone else and they could play with it and I could see what they did with it. I never, ever, ever wanted to start a company. I was a punk. I was an anarchist when I was a kid. I hated corporations. I don't know why I'm here doing what I'm doing, running a company, but I don't want to be what I am right now. But I see the importance of using the current medium and the vessels that exist, such as companies, to spread ideas. And with my second company, Block, which Miles back there works at, we understand the importance of not just building something for shareholders, per the previous conversation, but actually building something that impacts people directly. And that's why we have to dedicate a lot of our resources to open source. So my goal is to shift our Wall Street company to more and more contribution towards open source. And in our medium is financial technology. And so the biggest at-scale open source project that will help people is, we believe, Bitcoin. The internet having a native currency that's not owned by Visa and MasterCard, that's not owned by any of the banks, it's not corruptible by the government of Nigeria or Venezuela or El Salvador or any of these countries around the world that may take advantage of it in particular ways. It's incorruptible by anyone because it's actually built by the people as a very, very complex consensus model that determines its direction. There's no CEO. The founder of it left. We have no idea where this person is. There's an imposter in England right now who says he's this person, but he's about to be proven wrong. And anyone with a good idea can actually contribute as long as they can show the merit of the idea and other people buy into it. And that's what we should have for our money. We should not, its direction should not be up to a unelected board, such as the Fed in the US. The US's only export and only power is the US dollar. It's being challenged by the main export of a communist government, the Chinese government, with the yuan. Shouldn't we have a third horse in the race? And shouldn't that third horse in the race not be controlled by a Visa or MasterCard, not being controlled by a bank, not be controlled by a government? And that is Bitcoin. There's been no other challenger to that. So the inspiration was always around, for me, building and open source and contributing to something that's bigger than me. And I think that's why we're all here. We want to be part of something that's bigger. And that doesn't just take from people, but gives beyond the lifetime that we exist on this planet.
Absolutely. Giving and legacy is the conversations that we have yesterday, all of us in our different workshops and working lunches. And speaking about giving, Jack, you're a philanthropist. The latest I have seen the last 5 years, you have been investing a lot of your time in philanthropy and giving and supporting. What are the causes that are moving you today? What are the causes that are close to your heart?
I have a foundation called Start Small, and I gave up 20% of my holding in our company, the equity to it. And this foundation has about $4 billion in assets under control, and it all varies by the current stock price of the company, but it's a pretty significant amount. We've given out close to 700 million. And our goal was to focus on 3 areas. One is crisis response. The next was girls' health and education. And the next was a test of UBI, universal basic income. We added a 4th, which is internet technologies, nonprofits that serve building these open source technologies, such as Bitcoin or Nostr, which is an open source solution to social media that's not controlled by a Elon or a Mark Zuckerberg or a Microsoft or whoever these people are. There's no one. It's the fact that there's so many organizations working in these spaces that are doing really meaningful things. Would like to invest in Roya's soon. Just have her information recently, doing a lot of great work for girls in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. I think that the hardest thing, as Tim is probably aware, is finding the right organization that is set up to actually make meaningful impact. And the unfortunate thing is that there's a number of organizations that are all competing with each other for resources, and the competition actually takes away from the impact that they're trying to drive with the people they're trying to help. And that's probably been my biggest learning in giving money away, is there's just a lot of unnecessary and unfortunate competition, and not enough ways to prove the impact and to really accept those funds and scale them really deploy them in a meaningful way. But we've tried to move as quickly as we can, and I think we've moved super fast, but we're gonna make a ton of mistakes given that we wanted to move fast. And mistakes means that there might be funds that went out that were not really utilized in the way that it was advertised as such.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yesterday we have our board meeting on Sunday. I was telling Jack, I promised him 3 things. Number 1 was that I will make a lot of mistakes, but I will own my mistakes and I will try to fix them. Number 2, I promised him that I will support his and Carol's legacy above all. And number 3 is that we're going to focus on our partners. And yesterday was a celebration of that. We celebrated our partners, the people that are actually in the trenches. And we learned a lot from that approach from what you have done before. Moving on to the last part of our conversation, Jack. Sorry that my boys, I sang a lot with Carlos on stage.
And why are you sorry then?
We had some mezcales and it was a great time. So I apologize for my boys. But I just want to end up now with a more philosophical conversation rather than practical. In terms of, we have talked about this, how we live in dark times, but optimism and doing things with the roll-up sleeves with the right people at the right time, it's also what moves us. In your opinion, Costa Rica is one of the last fronts or beacons of life in the middle of this dance floor or autocracies. How important is that from the private sector, from family offices, from asset management firms that are here represented by their CEOs and CIOs, how important is that they commit part of their profits and their energy and their resources and time to support that freedom, to support that democracy, and to expand that into other parts of the world?
I think it's really important to do as much as possible, as fast as possible while you're present, while you're on the planet, to see the outcome and to see the impact, and most importantly, make mistakes and learn from them as quickly as possible. So I would rather optimize for velocity and making mistakes than I would perfection, because we're never really going to be perfect, and anything that allows us to learn more. And the only thing I know that is the best teacher is the mistakes we make. So I think it's really important to dedicate as much as we're able to helping as quickly as possible. I don't know if that was your question, but
that's exactly for where I was going. The firm that is a co-host of this KSquared Capital is creating a education platform called Puente with Roberto Artavia at Incaya Business School to fund students in the Masters in Science and Technology. From last year commitments, we started this, and now we just funded the first cohort. So for all of you that are thinking why technology, is because what Jack just said, like we're trying to optimize velocity and escalation and creating the right skills for the careers of the future that are needed in the next 12 months. Finally, to end this conversation, I see a lot of people in the crowd that you have supported, that we at the Reynolds Foundation have supported, and that we really, really admire, including political activists and technologists and academics. I wanted to ask you, Jack, I don't know if this is a question or more like a reflection to end our conversation, which is when we discuss about fatherhood and that you and I are thinking of having a kid in the future. And then Leopoldo was talking about the challenges with China and technology and AI and surveillance. When we were in the car ride back from Coyol, I was thinking, wow, do I want to bring a child to this world? What world do they will live in the next 15 years? What do you think that the future will carry if we stay indifferent to the challenges that we have?
I think the answer is it has to be yes. You want to bring more people into the world because more people will help us solve the problems. And the fact that kids today are growing up only knowing the internet, only knowing that AI exists, only knowing something like a global currency can exist, and open source and all these tools, like that's phenomenal. Like it changes your whole mindset, and you can approach problems that we all have in very, very different ways. And I think that when we say the word technology, we we often think about something that's, well, a lot of people might, kind of recoil and say, I'm really bad at technology, but it's just a tool. Like, it's just like a hammer. And it's a matter of being able to use it in the right way. And it's, our work to make it more approachable. But ultimately, its only function is to solve problems. And for more people to be able to utilize these technologies and these tools to solve problems in unique ways and creative ways that we would never be able to think of it, because we just didn't grow up that way. We didn't grow up with that understanding is exciting. And I just can't wait to see what people do and how they approach this world and what they build. And all this stuff compounds. There's no one moment. It just iteration after iteration after iteration. And I don't think there's any real true invention either. It's just continuing to pull the thread on what matters, and us getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the things that truly matter, which is how we come together, how we relate, and ultimately, like, how we're gonna live together for the rest of time.
Absolutely. No, as a punk rock and an anarchist myself, the punk rock movement became on the 70s on the concept of no future. And when the Clash and the Sex Pistols started making songs about God Save the Queen, what they were actually trying to embed into the society was the narrative that each one of us have self-determination and have the dignity and the resilience to build up ourselves. I see my mother in the crowd. She actually is probably really proud right now. I just want to address that she's still a school bus driver, and she raised me by herself with 4 kids. I just seen her like crying in the back. I just want to address this moment that punk rock do pays at the end of the day, and that we can actually help people with this philosophy. You were very worried, but now you know. I just saw you crying, so I just addressing that. We just totally improvise. But I want to thank Miles Sutter, because he's also joined our advisory council, and he has been an instrumental for creating this connection with Jack. Extremely proud of him to be his friend. To close this conversation, remember gratitude that we're in a free country, gratitude that we're in a blue zone in front of a turtle refugee, gratitude that we have still a lot of hours today with ourselves to connect, to enjoy our present, gratitude that we're alive. Some of you, I know them really well, some of you are dying, and I know that for a fact. Some of you might not be here next year. And that's a reality. So let's make the best of it. Let's be grateful of these moments. Jack, we're extremely grateful for joining us to the board of the Reynolds Foundation, man. You have no idea what does that mean to us and to Team.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Togetherness, right? Togetherness. To be close to each other, to enable change, to be close to each other, to support our causes, to be close to each other, to democratize the access to technology, to financial services, to education, to the things that are going to move us. And last but not least, action. I want you guys to commit to something today, whatever that is. Join a board, donate to the demo lab, donate to the cause that you like. Ask Jack if you can provide money to his causes. He already identified the winners. Talk to Elaha. Victor Navarro was here yesterday. We raised almost $100,000 for him to expand his virtual reality awareness of political prisoners camps in Venezuela. Commit your energy, commit your treasure, commit your time to whatever you guys want. Make it work. Our time in this world is not infinite, it's finite. So let's make it count. Thank you, Tim, again for sponsoring this event, and Carolyn for supporting us. And again, Jack, thank you for making the time to be here today, man. Thank you all.